Hi, can everyone hear me? Hey, is everyone able to hear me right now? If you're able to hear me, can someone just reply in the chat? I haven't heard anyone reply yet. Okay, glad you guys can hear me. So, yeah, I just wanted to hold a quick live stream. Thanks again for everyone who got me up to 2,000 subscribers. Really glad people enjoy the channel and the videos I'm making. And, I enjoy watching other roller coaster YouTubers, and I'm glad that people enjoy watching my videos as well. So it looks like we have quite a few people in here. Yeah, thankfully I'm still doing well, staying healthy. Mostly working from home, but just doing what I can to try to help prevent the spread. And if I go out, just wear a mask, be careful. Capital Coasters asked, when did I hit 2K? I hit it some point last week. I forget if it was Wednesday or Thursday, but yeah, I was surprised how quickly it went from 1 to 2,000. Yep. Thanks again for everyone for the congratulations. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to just shoot them in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. Hang Time Thrills asked, when you started, did you ever expect to get this big? I also don't know. I was started by just making a few videos here and there, but really started making more once the quarantine happened, because I was just looking for something to do, considering a lot of my other hobbies, like Ultimate Frisbee, had to be put on pause. Wyatt Chambers asked, can you go to a fair? I don't know of any carnivals or fairs that have been going on up this way. I've gone to fairs in the past, particularly the Marshfield Fair and the Topsfield Fair, but those weren't an option this year. Green Bean, what's your favorite small park? I guess it depends what you count as a small park. I love parks like Holiday World, but I don't know if that's gotten a bit too big to be counted as a small park now. But usually for me, any park that has a good signature ride and that just family-friendly atmosphere. I like, for example, Waldemere is another small one I really like. Ravine Flyer 2 is awesome, and they have a good collection of rides. Rachita Copeland asked, how often do you go live at parks or at home? I haven't gone live at parks yet, and I honestly don't think I will. I don't have any intention to ever vlog at a park. That's just not who I am at a park. I try to go live maybe every once a month or so. Wyatt Chambers, what's your favorite ride? Lightning Rod or Voyage. Both are incredibly paced rides with excellent night rides as well. Wonderful settings, lots of airtime. Capital Coasters, I have no fairs near me. Yeah, are you talking just this year or in general? Because I've hit a couple carnivals in my travels before if I see them off the road. It's an easy way to get an extra coaster credit or two, but usually I go there for the flat rides. Hang Time Thrills, what's your favorite and least favorite coaster you've ridden? So I already touched on Lightning Rod and Voyage, which are my two favorite coasters I've ridden. Least favorite is easily Coaster Express. That ride is painful. I want that ride to be turned into an RMC as soon as possible, because no one else should have to bear the pain of that ride ever again. Wyatt Chambers, do they have the Kamikaze? Yes, it was called Top Gun. It was run by Fiesta Shows. Coaster Keychain, your videos are really good. How do you make them really high quality? First, I just focus on my opinions. So if I'm going to do a coaster review, I want to make sure I've ridden the ride enough to get good opinions out there. In terms of footage, I have a huge repository of photos from over the years, and I'm trying to complement that with videos now. So if you need to use outside footage, just try to look at the park. That's usually my first spot, and if not, just ask around with other YouTubers to see if they're okay using their footage. If they're not Creative Commons, yeah, and once you figure out YouTubers that you can use their footage, it's good because you can keep going back to them and ask again. Ex-coaster enthusiast, what part of Boston do you live in? I live near Boston. I live up in Stoneham. I'm looking to move south of Boston sometime in the next year because my company moved, but right now I'm in Stoneham. Reese Smith, will you be excited that Goliath and Flashback and Tomahawk will get removed in 2021 at Six Flags New England? And are you going to do former coaster videos of Canobie and Six Flags New England? So did the Six Flags announce they were moving those rides? Last I checked, there was just speculation those rides were going to go. I still think Goliath's going to be the one based off of how little that ride runs, but it could be something like Tomahawk again, because that's in a really dead spot at Six Flags New England, and it's redundant with Harley Quinn. I don't know if I'll do former coaster videos for those parks just because I'm limited on footage I have for those. And, I don't want to make too much of a narration heavy video if there's no footage to complement it. Patrick Cadiz, I know it's a question no one knows the answer to, but when do you estimate parks will lift or loosen their COVID restrictions? So as you saw when the parks progressed through the years, they started loosening them already, sort of. Like if you look at Six Flags America, they started Fright Fest this year blocking off every other row on rides like Superman and Wild One. But I heard by the end they were filling every row. And to this point, there have been no outbreaks traced back to parks with the precautions they're taking. Again, I think it really helps that they're outdoors. But I think COVID restrictions will be loosened once a lot of people can get vaccinated or there's a proven cure for it. Hopefully with the good news and the vaccines, that'll be some point next year, but we'll see when that happens. Capital Coasters, you're lucky because you can't go live unless you have 1,000 subscribers. Oh, okay, I had no clue that was a thing. Coaster Hour, what defunct coaster you've ridden that you'd want to bring back? For me, Dueling Dragons, that's my favorite defunct coaster I've ridden. I like Hagrid's, and I feel bad for saying I like that ride better than Dueling Dragons, but I wish there was a way to get both those rides in the same park. But I know J.K. Rowling had an issue with Dueling Dragons not being super immersive. Coaster Cloud, favorite song. It's hard for me to pick one favorite song I like the best. Typically, I like any song that's associated with a ride. So some of my favorites are like Fire and High by ELO. Reese Smith, I missed Six Flags New England as Riverside Park. I wish I went there when it was Riverside. I went once when it was Riverside, but I was 5 at the time, so I didn't really get to ride much. The thing I remember most about there was that Paul Bunyan play area. That was an awesome play area for kids, but I was too short to ride any of the coasters at that point, except for Little Ricky's Little Twister. Capital Coasters, even the Virginia State Fair is probably 3 hours away. Okay, yeah, I think I tried to go to a fair in Virginia a few years ago on the way to King's Dominion and Busch Gardens, but it closed early by the time I got there. It was no big loss. It was just going to be a bonus stop. Joe Flynn, did you see what they're doing a lightning rod? Yeah, I saw that the video that Dollywood. I saw the video someone posted from the Ace event this past weekend, basically confirming the park that they're going to be putting the iBox track on sections of the ride, which will hopefully make it more reliable. And that goes back to what I always heard about that ride, where it's not the launch anymore that's causing problems. It's literally the structure. And I honestly don't care if they have to turn sections of the ride into steel. I don't care if it sets up an eternal debate, is it wood or steel. I just want that layout to be kept as is, and it sounds like it is. And I want that ride to run reliably because it's, my favorite ride in the world, and it would be a shame that if others can't experience it. RCT2 nerd, how many times have you been to the American Dream Mall? I've been there 3 times at this point. I've been to Nickelodeon Universe in 3 different visits, and then one of the visits I did both Nick Universe and DreamWorks. Wyatt Chambers, do you know what the Kamikaze is? If you don't, you're not a flat ride fan. Yep, the Fabry Kamikaze. Those aren't quite as common as those Imperial Hawks anymore, but I've ridden my fair share of those Fabry Kamikaze rides, and the hang time over the top's a lot of fun. Green Bean, going to any other parks in 2020, and do you think Alabama Adventure is going to get a new coaster next year? They posted a teaser on Facebook. So I haven't been following the Alabama Adventure news too much. I think they said the clearing was over by the log flume area. Is that attached to the water park at all? Because I feel like their primary focus has always been the water park. And based off where I saw the crowds of that park when I was there, it would make sense for them to expand their water park. But I'd love for them to put some new coaster in there to complement Rampage or any expansion on the dry side, because, on the dry side, I only cared to ride Rampage, and that was about it. As for other parks in 2020, I originally had a Texas trip scheduled in June that I had postponed until the week after Thanksgiving. In light of where COVID cases are trending there, I'm probably, well, I don't know if I can get a refund on that flight because I already rescheduled it once. So that's 50-50 if I'll end up going on that trip, just in light of, cases going up in a lot of places. I'm not too worried about the parks themselves. It's just the optics of going somewhere when there's an emergency going on like that. Sydney Stoops, can you do a review on Jolly Roger Amusement Park in Ocean City, Maryland? So I've actually never been to the Ocean City, Maryland parks. Whenever I've looked to include them on a road trip, they're a bit too far out of the way for the rides that they offer, but I hope I'll make it there someday. Coaster Keychain, why is Prairie GCI'd with Steel Track? Six Flags has a really good relationship with RMC, so why didn't they do that? Six Flags still has a great relationship with RMC, but GCI probably just gave them a better deal, and we know Six Flags loves their deals. Ex-Coaster Enthusiast, top 5 bucket list parks. I'm probably going to miss some off the top of my head, but any of the Disney parks I haven't been to, so Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland. Energylandia. Where are some other parks I really want to get to? Movie World in Australia to get, particularly for DC Rivals, and then Everland in South Korea primarily for T-Express. Wide Chambers, I live in Pennsylvania. We have a lot of fairs. Yeah, I've seen quite a few in Pennsylvania in my travels. Joy, what's the most disappointing coaster you've ridden? I know I made a video on the most disappointing coaster. I forget. I'm really bad thinking of the most disappointing coasters off the top of my head. I'm trying to think which one. If you watch that video, that would probably be the correct answer. Probably the first time I rode Medusa Steel Coaster because it wasn't running very well that time. It ran a lot better in my second visit, and that was weird because it was only running a 5-car train as opposed to the normal 6. But yeah, I'd probably just say Medusa Steel Coaster the first time. But if you want the definite answer when I have time to think about it, look at my disappointing coasters video. Capital Coasters, the launch is still broke a lot in Lightning Rod. I guess the question I have with that is it actually the launch mechanism itself, or is it the structure on the launch? Because that's a pretty big distinction there. Coaster Keychain, will Nickelodeon Universe at Mall of America ever get a new coaster? Eventually, yes. I just don't know what they'll add because they are pressed on space. But if Gronaland proved anything, with a little creativity, you can make use of space in any way. Ex-Coaster Enthusiast, are you more excited for the Park Asterisk Intamin Launch Coaster or the Wallaby Belgium Intamin Mega Coaster? Probably the Wallaby Belgium Intamin Mega Coaster. That ride looks insane, but the Park Asterisk ride looks great too, especially because I love Park Asterisk. Nicholas McAnally, how do you rank El Toro in your top 10? I don't have El Toro in my top 10. It's a borderline top 10 wood coaster for me. El Toro's best part is good as any coaster. I love the first drop, love those first 2 camelbacks. The Rolling Thunder Hill is exceptional, but the rest of the ride is decent at best. Whereas my other rides in my top 10, they're a bit more well-rounded where it's great start to finish. Hello, everyone else who joined. Coaster Daddy, Coaster Keychain, Jonathan Collins, Patrick Cadiz. Reese Smith, do you think in 2021 that Canobie will replace Tall Timber Splash with a new coaster? I think it will happen. I want the corkscrew to get removed in 2021. I will say this. I hope when Canobie does remove corkscrew, they have the new I hope when Canobie decides to remove Timber Splash or corkscrew, they have a replacement lined up. I don't want them just to remove the ride for the sake of removing the ride. For a while, I always thought that the corkscrew plot was going to get the new coaster if Canobie added one, but in light of how successful the Castaway Island water park is, I think corkscrew's plot's eventually going to be a water park expansion. They could use some other slide tower, whether it be, some drop pod slides or some other tube slides like you see at Quasi or some body slides. That'd be really helpful for Canobie because that water park is always busy now that it opened. Coaster Hour, was one ride you enjoy that you never hear anyone talk about? 2 that come to mind are Osiris at Park Asterisk. That was an invert that I never heard too many great things about outside of it had good theming, and that's my favorite invert. Another one is Surf Coaster at Sea Paradise. Another ride you never hear anything about, and that ride blew me away. That ride had some great airtime and forces start to finish. Nick the Pet Rock, I'm going to spam CGA questions. I have a question for you if you love CGA. Why was that elevator Morgan coaster ever going to be a thing that was themed to the Brady Bunch? That when I heard that was a proposed plan for a while, I thought someone was kidding, but no, I saw a plan for that and it was ridiculous. Oops, sorry, just trying to get caught up in the chat. Patrick D, single most powerful airtime moment ever, Philip. The ones in El Toro are pretty good. The ones in Sky Rush are exceptional. Iron Rattler's first drop and the drop off the quarry wall are powerful too. Those are 3 that come to mind, but there might be another one I'm missing. Again, I'm bad sometimes when I'm put in the spot for those types of things. 5K Phantasialand is the top of my bucket list. Yeah, that's an amazing park. Jonathan Collins, do you think Kentucky Kingdom is getting an RMC Raptor next year? I don't think they're getting it next year based off of how I heard a rumor that Silverwood got Kentucky Kingdom's Raptor. I don't know if that's true or not, but I imagine Kentucky Kingdom will still get a Raptor. They just might have postponed it a year or two in light of COVID. Coaster Keychain, I wonder if any American parks will get a coaster like the Wallaby Belgian Mega. The Intamin so far are mostly launch coasters. I think it comes down to which parks we think will add a mega coaster because a lot of the suspects already had one. But I'd love to see one come to America, like maybe Busch Gardens, Tampa. They have Iron Gwazi coming in, but a more traditional out and back mega coaster would be great for that park. Neil's Adventures. You play Planet Coaster? Not as much as Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on my phone, but I do like Planet Coaster. That's just a game I have to dedicate a lot of time to play because it's really detailed. Green Bean. We might be taking a trip to Europe. I'm pressing for a theme park, and they granted me one pick as long as it's within distance of an area we could spend a day at. What do you recommend? My favorite park in Europe is Europa, but it's ever so slightly ahead of Phantasialand. Both those parks are exceptional, but Europe is so big that it just really depends where you are. There's a lot of great parks over there. Liseberg, Portaventura. It just depends where you are. Maya Shadrin. Hey, I just want to drop in and thank you for the review in the DreamWorks water park. Visit last Wednesday. It was great. Thanks for the review. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That water park is great, and especially now with how little crowds they're letting in, it's like you have ERT there. Stanford Bridge. Hey, Canobie, I can't stay tonight, but thank you for your channel and congrats on 2K. Thank you. Mackie Joe, hi. Evan McDonald, do you think Michigan's Adventure will get a new coaster soon? And if so, what's your prediction? I suspect they're going to get one of the Impulse coasters that's relocated in the Cedar Fair chain. Possessed seems to be the likely candidate because that was supposed to get axed in those Gravity Group Dorney Park plans. And it would be a great fit for Michigan's Adventure. It'd be their first launch coaster, and it'd be a big coaster on the dry side, which they haven't gotten in a long time. Hey, Raleigh Coaster, having any drafts soon? It's cool, dude. What do you think Bay Beach next coaster will be? Right now they only have Zip and Pippin, so that'd be a good candidate to get one of those SBF Visa spinners. I know they're spreading like wildfire and they're pretty cheap too. Coaster Keychain, will more SS free spins come to the Cedar Fair parks? I could see them coming to more Cedar Fair parks if the one at Kings Dominion is well received, especially because they take up so little space and they are pretty unique relative to the rest of the park's offerings. Green Bean, have you ever gone skiing? I've gone skiing twice. Once up in Mount Sanopy, New Hampshire, and I went once at Ski Dubai in Dubai. Well, actually, sorry, I only went skiing once because the second time at Ski Dubai, I actually snowboarded. Definitely preferred skiing because it was a lot easier for me to get a grasp on, but I think I prefer sledding just because it's a little easier for me. Reese Smith, I heard that on the Six Flags online Facebook that the Goliath and Tomahawk and Kentucky will get removed. Kentucky's another one that slipped my mind, but that one would make sense for another removal. It's in a really awkward spot and doesn't get much ridership, but that ride, it is does add something a little different to the park's lineup, and it usually has good reliability. But yeah, I'm not shocked Goliath and Tomahawk are on the chopping block. My Shadrin at the DreamWorks water park. My favorite ride was the Thrill of Gascar. What was yours? I love Toothless Trickling Torpedo. Water coasters tend to be my favorite type of water slide, and that was quite possibly my favorite water coaster. That ride was long, has some good airtime, and yeah, I love that ride start to finish. It's cool, dude. Do you think that Six Flags Great America will get a new coaster very soon? Um, if I were to think what they're going to get next, I think they'd be due to get a Sky Screamer, one of those giant Giga Discoveries, just because those are two flat rides they don't have. They'll eventually get a new coaster. I just don't think they're going to be, getting one immediately, considering they got Max Force sort of recently. But if they do get one, I'd say American Eagle, either GCI retrack or RMC retrack conversion are two decent options. Great Adventure Geek, congrats. Always like the content. Thank you. Reese Smith, I think for the new coaster, Canobie will be a Galaxy or an RMC Raptor. So Canobie has the height limit of 85 feet, so they'd have to get a custom Raptor underneath that. In terms of what their next coaster would be, obviously I want to see a thrill coaster, but looking at their lineup, they don't have a coaster in between Dragon Coaster or Kitty Coaster, and probably their next family coaster would be Yankee Cannonball, which has a 48-inch height requirement. They need something in between, like, a little spinning coaster or, some compact ride that can go in maybe Timber Splash's plot. They need a family coaster most, even though my heart wants the thrill coaster. Whoops, I've really fallen behind in the comments. I'll try to get caught back up. G Money, have you ridden Mean Streak? If so, what were your thoughts? I rode Mean Streak up front, decent. Didn't hurt up front. It just didn't do too much with the layout. In the back, that ride was painful. Sydney Stoops, can you also do a review on Nagashima Spa Land? I don't have any video footage for that park, and it's hard to find video footage for that park. I talk a little bit about it in my favorite. I think I did a video on my favorite Japanese amusement parks. That'd be one place to see it. My thoughts on that park. X-Coaster enthusiast, do you think next-gen Vekomas will come to the U.S.? So I don't know, because it seems like the parent company to Vekoma and SNS wants to use SNS in the U.S. more. Again, I'd love to see more stuff like Steel Curtain. Haven't ridden it, but that ride looks great. And so, what SNS and Vekoma are both doing look good. So I'd love to see more of those rides come about. Nick the Pet Rock, take a massive trip and you'll have content for the next 2 years. This happened to Coaster Studios and Airtime Thrills. Oh, I have tons and tons and tons of photo footage from years of trips. I'm just limited on the video footage because I only started taking that last winter. But as I travel more, I'll get more video footage, and if I don't have video footage for a specific park, again, I'll take a look at Creative Commons or other creators and see if I can use that. Alan Trotter, thoughts on what you think Six Flags New England will get in terms of a new coaster? Congrats on 2K. Thank you. So I think that the park really needs a launch coaster. That's one of the biggest gaps. It just depends how big they want to go. Do they want to get some type of custom SNS air launch coaster? I'd say a Skyrocket 2 would be perfect for that park, but Lake Compounds has one nearby, but when does that stop Six Flags from adding a similar ride nearby? But if they ever removed the Impulse coaster from Great America, that would be a great fit for Six Flags New England. Again, they don't have a launch coaster, and that's what they really need, and they don't have much space to build one. Roller coaster, I'd say an Impulse coaster would not fit well at Michigan's Adventure. An Impulse at Michigan Adventure would be the tallest coaster in the park, dethroning the almighty Shivering Timbers, and would require a lot of maintenance that Michigan Adventure doesn't have. That's a fair point, that would be the park's biggest ride. That's one reason why I thought it'd be a good fit. In terms of maintenance, yeah, that would be, they'd have to put a lot of effort to keeping that ride going, but do they have anything there that's really hard to maintain? It'd be one thing if they had, 3 rides that constantly broke down, but when I was there, Mad Mouse was down, but that seemed to just be it got stuck on the course on opening day. Coaster Keychain, I wonder if the Intamin half pipe will be relevant again. I mean, American Dream just built one, and if they build any more of those Nickelodeon Universe parks, I see them adding more of those rides. They're compact. And that'd be another thing if Six Flags worked with Intamin that could work at Six Flags New England, just the capacity's not that great. Andrew Moreland, hey, future coaster enthusiast that claims Canobie is my main park. Just saying hi and congrats on 2K. Thank you. Yeah, Canobie's a great home park. Not the best coaster lineup, but friendly staff, a lot of good flat rides, and a beautiful atmosphere. It's cool, dude. What ride Great America do you think will get removed? I think Buccaneer Battle. If they eventually get a giant Discovery or a Giga Discovery, probably that Frisbee ride that sits there. I think that was closed the day I was there. Vertical Velocity is another candidate just because it doesn't seem to stand out anymore with Max Force there. But, Yeah, those would probably be my two options. The log flumes are another candidate because some of those aero log flumes have been being removed. Joe Flynn, what are your thoughts on GCI using their hybrid track on Predator at Darien Lake? I think Predator is a great layout. It's just rough. So I'm really interested to see how much of that GCI track they use to see if they can get that ride running smooth. Roller Coaster, I just kind of stopped posting. Maybe if you'd be willing to reinvest some interest in the draft from posting your channel. Hey, I'll funnel interest over there. Last time I didn't have many subscribers, so I couldn't even make a community post. This time I would. Ex-coaster enthusiast, what city in the U.S. without a park needs one the most? The Houston area could use another big park just because they have a huge metropolitan area and good weather year round. They have Kemah and Galveston, but those are relatively small parks. Arizona is another place that'd be a good one. Again, they have a climate that could support a park year round, but the biggest thing they have in like Phoenix is castles and coasters and Wildlife World. Reese Smith, yeah, the Goliath and Tomahawk and Kentucky will get removed in 2020 at Six Flags New England. I don't usually ride those too often, so that's no big loss to me. I just hope they eventually put something in Goliath's plot, especially because it's prominent right off the midway. Wyatt Chambers, I'm going on King to Ka for the first time this summer. Yeah, enjoy that ride. That ride's a great rush. Will Jomosh, hey, yo, what coaster did you not get to ride that made you upset? Probably Hypersonic XLC. The first time I went to King's Dominion, it was on a Sunday, and the park was mobbed. We had 2 days at the park, that Sunday and Monday, and when I got there, first thing I wanted to do was Volcano. Rode that, loved it, but I had to wait 2.5 hours to do it. Hypersonic had a massive queue as well, so I decided I'd just ride that the next day. Well, unfortunately, Hypersonic never opened the Monday, and by the time I returned to the park, it was gone. Fortunately, I have ridden Dododampa, so I did get to experience one of those high-powered SNS air launches, but it still stung to miss that insane-looking top hat on Hypersonic. Alan Trotter, what parks in Japan are a must-visit after Fuji-Q, Nagashima, Disney, and Universal? Tokyo Dome City, just because it's in downtown Tokyo, and Thunder Dolphin's a bucket list ride. Even though it's not the best Intamin Hyper, it just has such a unique setting. Trying to think of some of the other ones I liked over there. Parque España was good, but that one was a little hard to get to. Those are two that come to mind, especially because I have two signature coasters. Sea Paradise, that's another one I love just because of Blue Fall, though I heard that's being removed, and Surf Coaster, which unfortunately had an accident at some point last year, so I don't know if that ride's still running. I hope both are, but I've heard it's kind of hard to sometimes find info in those parks. Robert Gray, I remember we had 4 followers. I was here. I am glad you stuck around. Bourgeois means bear, you are handsome. Well, thank you. Intensity Thrill, Steel Curtain looks underrated in my opinion. It looked great when I was there. Unfortunately, it never ran this year, but hopefully I can get on it next year or next time I'm at Kennywood. It's cool, dude. Best classic wooden coasters. The two that come to mind are the ones that just have buzz bars. Phoenix at Canobie's and the slightly superior cousin out in Canada, Coaster at Peony Playland. Both those rides give incredible airtime, and with no seatbelt and just buzz bars, you get launched out of your seat. Reese Smith, they should put a new coaster in the Goliath spot since it'll get removed. I imagine they'll put something there. It just might not be immediate. But hey, as long as they fill that spot eventually, I'm happy. Can't be worse than Goliath. Drew Myers, hey guys, I'm new here. Well, thanks for joining. Roller Coaster, as a Michiganian, if that's how you say that, sorry. I can't say the maintenance at MIA is not very strong. A boomerang would fit there if I'm being honest. Hey, maybe they can get a good deal on the Goliath from Six Flags New England if we get rid of that and put new trains on that, and it'd be a fun ride. Ex-coaster enthusiast, how longer do you think Goliath at Six Flags New England will last before getting removed? It depends how quickly Six Flags wants to remove those 15 rides. If it's immediate, it might not be opening next year, but we'll see. Wyatt Chambers, do you think that Pennsylvania will get a kamikaze at a fair? I'm not familiar which rides go to particular fairs at Pennsylvania. I imagine there's one that comes there that has one. I just don't know for sure. Capital Coasters, Goliath is getting removed really soon, so is Flashback probably. It's not popular at all. I don't see them removing both boomerangs, but one's definitely going, and my thoughts Goliath based on the reliability that ride has. Superior Fox, what are your thoughts on Six Flags over Georgia? I really like that Six Flags park. well shaded, good coasters. I've had good visits there. Thomas Van Horn, have you been to Kings Island? And if yes, when was the last time you went? I went at the end of August, so I went twice this year. Got several rides in Orion. Really like that coaster and the park's diverse lineup. Robert Gray, do you foresee a log flume being built again, or are river rapids the way forward? I think the biggest thing is just a lot of parks already had built a log flume, but I'd love to see more log flumes built at newer parks that don't have them, or a resurgence of the log flume. I know Intamin tried with like Pilgrim's Plunge and Shoot the Rapids, and those didn't work too well. But I like log flumes, especially because they don't soak you to the bone like some of the other water rides. But we'll see what happens. Ex-coaster enthusiasts, except in Phoenix, it gets way too hot in the summer. So if they get a park, it would be most, if not entirely, indoors. There are plenty of hot areas for parks that can make it, like Southern California can be a furnace in the summer, and those parks seem to work. I guess it's just I imagine the people in Phoenix are used to the hot weather, so they can cope with it. David Bixon, what coaster legitimately scared you the first time you rode it? For me, it'd be anything that I rode, as a kid before I built myself up to riding bigger stuff. So some of the rides I know scared me my first time, Boulder Dash, and Steel Force. Those two rides were the tallest things I had ridden up to that point. And, especially with Boulder Dash, you can't really see any of that ride before you ride it. And I just heard the thunderous roar going through the woods, and that ride freaked me out, but I got on it and loved it. Roller coaster. Yeah. Phoenix, I'm used to spelling that just from, other uses of Phoenix. But Gerstlauer, Mauer, Schwarzkopf, all those foreign manufacturers are annoying to spell, especially because Word always flags those. Coaster Scorpion, hey, what's good? Yeah, doing fine, safe, and having a good, as good as 2020 can be. Alan Trotter, how would you rank Top Thrill Dragster, King to Ka, Red Force, and Accelerator? Red Force is number one. The launch isn't quite as good as the hydraulic ones, but it doesn't have the same initial yank, but 100 plus miles per hour still feels like 100 plus miles per hour at the end of the launch. But the reason I put that ride ahead of the others is the drop is a lot straighter, so you get good airtime on the drop, and there's this quick little hop in the brake run that gives an ejector pop. Then I'd probably put Top Thrill Dragster and Ka. The extra height is why I prefer that over Accelerator, but Accelerator is a great ride too. Joe Flynn, Prayer was rough from Darien Lake was my home park, and when I was a ride operator there back in the 2000, I got a really bad ride in that in 2010. In 2019, I rode it once up front and got a really good ride on it, but everyone behind me was in agony, so I think the front is the only place to ride that ride. Roller coaster, not going to mention Swamp Fox when talking about buzz bars. That one has seatbelts. That's why I mentioned Phoenix and Coaster ahead of it, but Swamp Fox is a great ride too. Aryan Patel, hey guys, what I miss? And I'm a huge fan of Canobie Coaster. Well, this will be posted on after this, so you can catch up on anything you missed. Front row coasters. If I could only go to the UAE for 2 days, what park should I go to? The two I'd recommend for sure are Ferrari World and Warner Brothers World, Abu Dhabi. They're literally across the street from each other, so you can do them easily back to back. Warner Brothers World is one of the best theme parks I've ever been to. Not the best coasters, but a ton of Disney Universal quality dark rides. Ferrari World has, the two exceptional Intamins in Formula Rosa and Flying Aces. Ex-coaster enthusiast, yeah, Atlantis Aqua Venture is my favorite water park. That's another great thing that's worth doing. But it just depends if you like water parks a ton, because Dubai and UAE has a ton of great water parks. Thrill Ride Studios, congrats on 2K subs. Thank you. Minnesota Coaster Enthusiast, have you been to Valley Fair? Yep, I went last year. I really want to get there before the inevitable Excalibur removal. Valley Fair, it was a good park. I really liked Renegade. But of the Minnesota parks, I preferred Nickelodeon Universe. Drew Myers, do you ever plan to go to China to ride roller coasters? I'll have to go there eventually for work, so I'm going to turn that into a coaster trip while I'm there. I don't know when that'll be in light of COVID, but I'll probably be there eventually. Jonathan Weiss, what are your thoughts on Six Flags St. Louis? If they got a signature steel coaster to complement Mr. Freeze, that park would be complete. But as is, it's nice and shaded. I love the wood coaster lineup. Batman, Mr. Freeze are two good steel coasters. They just need that airtime machine on the steel side. Ari and Patel, what's everyone's favorite coaster? Already touched on it. Lightning Rod or Voyage. Lightning Rod, the sheer length of that ride, got up in the contender for my favorite coaster now. Thomas Van Horn, what do you think will replace Vortex at Kings Island? Cedar Fair could go a lot of different ways. I expect it'll be a little bit, but they could either add a dive machine, even though Cedar Point has one. They could add something like Copperhead Strike. They could add they have a lot of things they could do with that plot. Aryan Patel, out of 837 credits, my favorite coaster is El Toro, then Steel Vengeance, then Hukugai, then Lightning Rod, then Untamed. I haven't been on Hukugai, but those other rides are all great. Joe Flynn, have you been on Dragon Mountain at Marineland? Yep, I went on that ride about a decade ago. I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good arrow looper, but the star of that part for me was Sky Screamer. The view up there was insane. Ex-coaster enthusiast, what ride in Fantasyland do you think will be the next to go for the park's next major addition after Rookburg? See, that park's so landlocked. I feel like it'd be hard for them to add another big themed land there. If they do, when I went there, I went on a bus, so I don't know their parking situation. If you have a park that landlocked, is there any way they could build a parking structure to try to buy some extra land? Again, I never parked there when I went, so I don't know if that's the case. Someone local might know. But yeah, one of the things I could see them doing, though, is that Geister Rickshaw ride. That ride just seemed outdated. I could see them adding some type of new dark ride there. Max Hagen, our opinions on Alabama Adventure new coaster. I hope it's a coaster as a coaster enthusiast, but from the park's perspective, I could see that being a water park edition because that seemed to be the moneymaker when I was there. Aryan Patel, maybe a B&M wing coaster. Are you talking about Kings Island for that? Or sorry, I'm behind the comments trying to get caught up. Big C, does Accelerator not count as a hyper? Just curious. It breaks the 200-foot mark. It just, I know when people think of hypers, they typically picture, the out and back layout with the big drops. But, officially Accelerator is a hyper. Just, I prefer, the B&M hypers or Intamin hypers, the airtime based ones. C. Jonius, Swamp Fox is my very first coaster at 5 years old. My mom always tells a story how she almost lost me after the first drop. Oh, that ride has some insane airtime. It's no joke. Speaking of the UAE, I'm so excited for SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Yeah, not just that, but I skipped the Bollywood Park when I was there, but that ride's getting some coasters now, and I'm glad that area is still expanding. Just I wish they got more crowds so that the investments pay off long term. Dino Coward, nice plush in the back. Yeah, you can say I'm a plush enthusiast. Aryan Patel, what's your favorite Scorpion? I like the one at Busch Gardens, Tampa. If there's another Scorpion I'm missing, let me know. Alex CCI Boy, thoughts on the boss at St. Louis? I wish I could ride that untrimmed. The first half is really good speed. Love the ride setting. The second half starts off really slow, but it does build up the speed by the end. White Wolf 2083. Bro, I went on Riptide Rocket in Orlando. Do you mean Rip Ride Rocket? I really like that ride. It does shake a bit, but the airtime in that ride's quite good. Max Hagenauer, does Screaming Eagle at Six Flags St. Louis have good airtime? It did when I rode it in 2018 or 2017, the first time I was there. This year, it didn't seem to have as good airtime. Maybe it was because it didn't have a full train, but the ride still runs fairly smooth and has a great setting in the woods. Dino Coward, which Nickelodeon theme park would you suggest? The original one in Minnesota is better. Much better atmosphere, but if coasters are your top priority, the one in New Jersey is better for that. Big C, by the Canobie coaster, are you from New Hampshire too? Nope, I live in Massachusetts. Aryan Patel, I think the best coaster at New England is Wicked Cyclone. I said that until last year when Superman got the new wheels. With the new wheels, Superman is running as good as it has since the mid-2000s. Yeah, the lap bars are bulky, but I've gotten used to them and I know how to ride with those, and just I love that layout. It's one of my favorite layouts of all time. Drew Myers, what do you do for work? I'm a mechanical engineer for a healthcare company. Sorry, just trying to get caught up in the chat. I fell behind, but I think I'm getting almost caught up. Thomas Van Horn, did you ever get the chance to go to the Swordsville Lake Americana near Cincinnati? Unfortunately, I never made it there. I would have loved to try Screeching Eagle because I have a fondness for Old Woodies, but never made it there. Ex-Coaster enthusiast, ever been to Riviera Maya in Mexico? The theme parks from Xcaret that are there don't have any rides, but they're so good, especially, sorry, I'm going to butcher this name, Xenizes or Zenesis. The only parks I've been to in Mexico are La Feria and Six Flags Mexico. Been to both those parks twice. Loved one of them. Wasn't a big fan of the other one. You could probably guess which one that I didn't like. Alex CCI boy, what's the secret with the U-bricks? For Superman, do not lower your own restraint. Let the employees do it. If you lower the restraint, the employees will always push down further. If you have them lower it, they stop at the first point of contact. Max Hagenauer, how on earth do you have the time to do work, go to all the parks all the time, and make videos? So I made a lot of videos when I was under quarantine. So chances are the videos that you're seeing, say tomorrow, I made that video weeks ago. I have a huge backlog of videos that I made, when quarantine originally started. In terms of going to parks, I do a lot of traveling for work, so I can easily squeeze parks in at the end of the day or on the weekend after. White Wolf 2083, I want to go on Hulk, but I didn't get the chance to. Hulk's one of my favorite rides at Universal Orlando, so definitely ride that when you get a chance. Galactic Coasters, hello, just got here. What's going on? Just answering questions, and thanks again for everyone who has subscribed. Sejonius, my home park now is Six Flags Over Georgia. Before it was Elix Gardens. That's a big upgrade. Joe Flynn, what coaster have you marathon the most that did not have to get off and go around? Probably Excalibur at Funtown, way back in the mid-2000s. Massachusetts always went back to school a week after Maine. So if I went the week that Maine went back, Funtown was so dead I'd sit on Excalibur for 2 to 3 hours straight without getting off. Jonathan Weiss, what's your favorite B&M Hyper? Shambhala, PortAventura. You have the long trains like Diamondback or Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland, but it's a little bit better paced, so you get insane airtime and sustained really long on the drops. Drew Myers, how old are you and how do you become a coaster enthusiast? I don't remember a time when I wasn't a coaster enthusiast. In terms of how old I am, I'm turning 28 this weekend. Theme Park New England, hi. Thanks for joining the stream. Galactic Coasters, Candemonium. I'm assuming you mean your favorite B&M Hyper. That's my favorite B&M Hyper in the U.S. Max Hagenauer, Mauer Skyloops or Zamperla Thunderbolts, which is better? I prefer the Zamperla Thunderbolt. I know a lot of people don't like those rides, but I like the airtime in the return run, and I don't find them that painful. The restraints are tight, but you don't hit your head with those restraints. White Wolf 2083, I like the song in Rip Ride Rocket, Just Me Only. That ride has so many different songs, including the secret playlist, that I'm sure everyone could find a song they like on that ride. Alex CCI boy, best country to go to for parks if you've never gone on an international trip. I assume you're based in the U.S. If that's the case, I'd say mainland Europe. It's hard to pick a specific country because they're all so close to each other, but Germany's a good one. Coaster Scorpion, question, which B&M coaster do you think would be the king of airtime and why? Probably Shambhala, just because that ride has one hill after another and the airtime's better than the U.S. hypers on the drops, and it's sustained really long. Pittsburgh Thrills just got here. Is this a Q&A right now? Yeah, this is Ask Anything, and I'm happy to answer. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Big C, I know you're a coaster enthusiast, but what's your favorite flat ride? I love drop towers. I probably wouldn't call Tower Terror a flat ride because that one's so complex, but I like those standing floorless drop towers. You can find it like PortAventura or Gronalund. In terms of another flat I loved the Top Scan that was at Oktoberfest. That ride ran an insane cycle with laterals, positive G's, and some airtime. That ride showed me what a Top Scan could do, and I loved it. Max Hagenauer, does Abysmos Camelback have good airtime after the first overbank? The first overbank on that ride is really forceful, and that Camelback has some great sustained airtime. Badger State Coasters, I'm glad the stream is going on because I had a bad day at school. Yeah, I'm glad this can give people some pleasure, especially with, even if you're not in school, work can sometimes be stressful too. White Wolf 2083, what's the highest mile per hour on a coaster? That'd be Formula Rosa, 149 miles per hour. Drew Myers, if you could work for one roller coaster manufacturer, what would it be? So I actually tried to get a co-op at GCI when I was in college, and I actually was interviewed. The biggest problem I had was it just didn't work well with my college. My college did a term system, so if I missed the first term, which I would have to do a co-op, I would have fallen behind my studies by a year, and that would have really wrecked my plan to get both a master's and my master's and undergrad degree in 4 years. But as much as I love roller coasters, I want to be close to my family, and there really isn't much, theme park jobs up in New England. So it's hard for me to say which one I'd want to work for, just because I prioritize being near my family. Pittsburgh Thrills, what's the best coaster in Pennsylvania? I think Phantom's Revenge. I love how you can get that type of airtime on a mega coaster with such minimalistic restraints. But Skyrush and Phoenix are close behind it. Thomas Van Horn, have you ever worked at a theme park? I did not, because where I grew up, the closest theme park was about an hour drive away, and that was a bit too far to do just for a summer job. But if Canobie or Six Flags was closer, I would have worked there. Dino Cower, have you ever been to Dorney Park? I've been to Dorney Park several times. Never very crowded, but I always have good times there. Well, except the time that a thunderstorm closed the park and I was evac'd on Talon, but usually I have good days there. Sejonius, what do you think of King Ka? I really like King Ka. It's one of the best rushes out there. Theo Vlogs, what's your favorite roller coaster? Lightning Rod or Voyage? Great airtime, incredible setting, impeccable pacing. Theme Park New England, are you going to Six Flags New England Holiday in the Park Lights? I'm on the fence. It's because I believe it's a one-way route, so you can only go through the lights once. It might not be worth a drive for me because it's a 2-hour drive there, 2-hour drive back. But if I have to go to Western Mass for any reason, I'd definitely go there. If I lived closer, I'd surely go. Badger State Coasters. I'm sad the log flume at Six Flags St. Louis might be removed because it's really fun. Again, I was just speculating things that could be removed based off Six Flags removing some of the older log flumes. I enjoyed riding that this summer. Again, I like water rides that don't soak you to the bone, but give you that nice little spritzing on a hot day. Sejonius Flat Ride, Acrophobia Drop Tower. First thing I do every time I visit the park. Oh, I love Acrophobia and over Georgia. Unfortunately, it was closed last time I was there, but I loved it the first time I went to that park. Max Hagenauer, opinions on Goldwood Stunt Pilot RMC. Oh, okay. You mean Silverwood. That's a great fit for the park. RMC is literally right down the road. And I loved Tremors there. Timber Terror was decent. Same with Aftershock, and this will fit their lineup very well. And it's the right capacity for that type of park. White Wolf 2085, what's your thoughts on Batman? Because I want to go on that one at Six Flags. I assume you mean the B&M Inverts, Batman the Ride. Unfortunately, Six Flags, they reuse the names so often for different rides. You could possibly mean the free spin at Fiesta Texas, but Batman may be cloned, but it's a great clone. Very forceful ride. Pittsburgh Thrills, have you ridden Steel Curtain yet? Unfortunately, no. It was closed when I was there last year. I hope to ride it. It looks good. Drew Myers, what's your biggest bucket list theme park? Probably Energylandia because of that insane-looking coaster lineup. Intensity Thrills, I want to work at Valley Fair. Again, I would have loved to work at a theme park if there was one closer to me growing up. Theo Vlogs, what's the weakest RMC coaster? Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. It's just really short and doesn't have as many elements as the other ones, but the elements it has are pretty good, particularly that the first drop in the stall. Coaster Keychain, what's the Cedar Fair Park in the best location? I love Cedar Point, literally on that peninsula. Thomas Van Horn, what do you think of the operation in Kings Island? As a ride up there, I would love to know how we're doing and what we can improve upon from an outside perspective. In general, Kings Island tends to have very fast operations. That's one of the best things about that park. And even though you guys tend to assign seats, you do honor seating requests, which is much appreciated. And because I understand why you do that, because some of those stations are rather cramped, like Mystic Timbers. But for someone who doesn't visit the park too often, I want to try to get the seats I want in those rides. Big C, did you ever get to Whalen Park in Lunenburg before it was closed? Unfortunately, I didn't. My parents had really bad experiences at Whalen Park, and they thought the park was run down and a little dangerous, so they didn't want to take me there. Max Hagenauer, B&M inverts or Superman flyers? Oh, sorry, Batman, B&M inverts or Superman flyers. Batman the ride is, I prefer that. The forces are much better start to finish, though that pretzel loop on the flyers is no joke. Massachusetts mapping. What's your most anticipated park outside North America? Energylandia for that coaster lineup. Zadra, Hyperion, and Abyssus look great. Dino Coward. What theme park or water park would you recommend in New Jersey? Easily Six Flags Great Adventure. Amazing coaster lineup. But if you want a water park, the DreamWorks water park's the best one in that area. David Lynn's Pantheon or I-305. It's really hard for me to compare rides that haven't opened to one I've ridden, but I think I'd probably still prefer I-305, but I'll only know once I ride them. Pittsburgh Thrill. Steel Curtain is great. I find it better than Phantom. Oh, I know plenty of people that prefer it to Phantom. I find it hard to believe I'd like it more than Phantom just because I love Phantom's restraints and the airtime-based ride, but Steel Curtain looks like it has a nice, diverse range of forces. Nathan Moore. Valley Fair or Worlds of Fun? That's close. I think Worlds of Fun has a better ride lineup, but the operations of Valley Fair were better when I was there, so I'd say it's a push. Sejonius, Goliath, and that downward helix. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but I know you're meaning the Goliath at Magic Mountain. Yeah, that helix is very forceful. Theo Vlogs. Is Six Flags America really bad? I actually like Six Flags America. It's sort of like the Dorney Park of the Six Flags chain where it has a good coaster lineup, but there's never anyone there. So it's nice to go to a park with that ride lineup and know you're never going to have to wait for anything. And I had some good visits there this year. Coaster Keychain. What's the future of water coasters? I'm assuming you mean the water, like the Master Blaster type water slide, but considering Six Flags added the one at Six Flags Great America this year, and they added the one at Fiesta Texas a few years ago, I see those coming to quite a few of their water parks because they tend to add things in rapid succession. Drew Myers, do you have any unpopular opinions that most coaster enthusiasts would disagree with? Well, I don't put El Toro in my top 25 overall. That's probably one that ticks a lot of people off. But I think that's one that I know comes to mind because I remember when I made that review and I gave it only a 9 out of 10. People are freaking out. White Wolf 2085. I've never been on Raging Bull. How is it? Raging Bull in the back is good. Very good airtime on the drops. But if you ride it up front, that ride's sort of a snooze fest because of that trim brake. Coaster Keychain. Batman the Ride or Batman the Ride, which is better. So many Batmans. Max Hagenauer. Why are Gravity Group Family Woodies underrated? I 100% agree with your Wooden Warrior review. I think they're underrated just because they don't have the stats that pop out. And the one thing I'll give that I do have to knock them for is they don't have the best sense of speed. And that makes sense because they only go, 30, 35 miles per hour. But if you want just a pure quantity of airtime moments, those Junior Gravity Group Woodies are great. Sejonius, Waterworld in Denver is the biggest and best water park, in my opinion. I was supposed to go to a wedding in Denver this year and I was looking forward to going to Waterworld, but obviously that didn't happen. So hopefully I can get there eventually. Thomas Van Horn, do you think Cedar Fair will ever work with Intamin again? Eventually they'll probably work with them again. I just don't see it in the short term, but we'll see what happens. Theo Vlogs, what's the worst Six Flags park? Frontier City. I had a really bad visit there this year. Diamondback was closed. And I really like the atmosphere of that park, but just the ride lineup really pales in comparison to the other Six Flags parks. David Lynn's free spins or boomerangs. I really like free spins. They complement the park's lineups really well. Boomerangs are a ride that I'll ride once for the credit. I don't usually ride multiple times, but I'll always try to ride a free spin at least once a visit. Nathan Moore, Goliath at Great America or Twisted Cyclone? Easily Twisted Cyclone for me. Even though that ride has less track length than Goliath, it feels longer because you have more elements along the course. Massachusetts mapping, Goliath or Goliath? Well, not the Goliath at Six Flags New England. Sejonius, Twisted Cyclone. Yep, that's one I liked. Theo Vlogs, I think Wildcat or Hershey Park is bad. What do you think? I don't hate it. It's just okay. It definitely shakes you around a bit, but the trains are well padded, so it doesn't hurt. That's a candidate I'd love to see get the GCI retrack, because when that ride ran the PTC trains and wasn't oppressively rough, that ride had some great airtime. It was one of my favorite wood coasters. Nick the Pet Rock, how do you survive drops? Make sure you wear the restraints. Drew Myers, what's your opinion on the Coaster Park Asterisk is getting in 2023? That ride looks incredible. I love Park Asterisk, and I'm looking forward to going back there once that ride opens. It looks to have some great airtime moments and a lot of different elements on there, inspired by RMC. Ghostly, what do you think about the new Universal theme park? Are you referring to Epic Universe? If so, that looked like it had some really interesting ideas, particularly the center area where you can break off into the different sections from the hub, especially if that was going to use the facial recognition tech that I heard about. But I'd love to see another Universal park because their newer additions have been pretty darn good. Thomas Van Horn, George's Scorcher or Riddler's Revenge? I love Riddler's Revenge at Magic Mountain. That's my favorite stand-up, extremely forceful, and ever since I learned how to ride the stand-up coasters, I love them. Just make sure you get your head above the restraint, or else you're going to hit your head a lot because of how bulky those shoulder restraints are. Nathan Moore, rank 1 to 3, Gold Striker, Ghost Rider, and Mystic Timbers. 1 Ghost Rider, 2 Mystic Timbers, 3 Gold Striker. I like Ghost Rider's layout a ton. Good mix of laterals and airtime. Mystic Timbers, ton of good airtime on the course, great night ride. Gold Striker's running a bit rougher than the other ones, but still has a lot of pops of airtime. Theo Vlogs, have you ever been to Adventure Park USA? Yep, I went last month. Small park, but I really liked Wild West Express. Dino Coward, what's your favorite roller coaster and favorite water coaster? Favorite coaster is either Voyage or Lightning Rod. Probably Lightning Rod, but those two are in 1 and 2 for me. Favorite water coaster, Toothless's Trickling Torpedo at DreamWorks Water Park. That ride's long and has a few good airtime moments. WSRCSTS21. Would you go on the Carnival Mardi Gras in celebration for the coasters? I've never been on a cruise. It's not really something that appealed to me, so I'm not sure if I'd ever make it on that coaster. I have ridden one of those spike coasters though, over in Germany. The prototype one is Skyline. It was a decent ride. Sejonius, where do you think Nitro lies in the B&M chain? So I know a lot of people bash Nitro for not having airtime. I've always gotten airtime on that ride, even when it's crawling in the winter. I'd say it's a mid-tier hyper. It has some good floater airtime, and if you ride that coaster at Holiday in the Park when it's 20 degrees out, that ride feels really intense and it's trying to rip your face off. The Gwazi, favorite Schwarzkopf. Chimera, which apparently is now in the process of getting removed. And it looks like it's not getting flat out demolished, so I'm hoping it gets reborn somewhere. It just probably will run with the brakes now, which in light of the accident is probably a good thing. Drew Myers, Iron Gwazi or Velocicoaster? I'm torn between them. Iron Gwazi's POV, I really liked it, how it looked different than the other RMCs. It looks sort of like a combination of Joker and Zadric rolled into one. But Velocicoaster looks like it'll have some great theming, and I'm a fan of the Intamin launch coasters, so both will be great, but I guess I'll say Iron Gwazi, but, both look like great rides. Massachusetts Mapping, what do you think Alabama Adventure is getting for 2021? Again, I've touched on this a few times, but I feel like their smart addition would be to expand the water park because that's where their money was being made when I was there. But as a coaster enthusiast, I hope they add something to the dry side. Nick the Pet Rock, is the Lego roller coaster layout good? Are you referring to like the Dragon coasters they have overseas, or what are you referring to there? Thomas Van Horn, do you ever see the stand-up coaster making a comeback with the recent vest patent by B&M? I don't really see that making a comeback, just because if you look at a lot of those stand-up coasters, people try to sit down in the bike seat all the time. After waiting in a long line, people want to sit down on the train as opposed to standing up. So I don't really see that making a comeback. Alan Trotter, what is the best non-Woody night ride? That is a good question. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of my favorite ones that I liked at night. Helix at Leesburg was really cool at night because you're up on the hillside overlooking Gothenburg with all the city skyline lights on. And that ride had the headlights in the front of the train. And There were quite a few sections of the hill that were really dark and contrasted with the bright skyline in the distance. Zachary Jarvis, do you think Iron Gwazi will be better than Steve? I don't, because it doesn't seem to have the length, but again, until I ride it, I can't say for sure. Connor Millstone, what do you think of the new style of B&M inverts? I really like how they're the new ones have that steeper twisting drop. Like Osiris's drop is incredible. I love that drop, and Banshee's drop's really good too. Theo Vlogs, what do you think they're doing with Lightning Rod Dollywood? There's a video circulating from an ACE event this past weekend, but basically Dollywood confirmed that they're adding steel eye-box track to sections of Lightning Rod to improve the reliability, which lines up with what I heard that the ride was tearing itself apart. G-Money, thoughts on the rumor of Canobie getting a Chance Hyper GTX? Where do you hear that rumor? I'd love to see them get a Chance Hyper GTX. They just have to work with that 80-foot height limit. The Gwazi, why do you think Mindbender at Six Flags Over Georgia is closed the rest of the year? Well, it never opened this year, so I think it just had to do with they needed to get the new trains in or refurb part of the ride. Nick the Pet Rock the toy. Oh, okay. I don't really follow Lego toys anymore. I used to get, I had that old Mission to Mars set and the Lego Soccer, but never was a big Lego fan. I always preferred Kinects. Nathan Moore, do you think any other mini dives or flyers will be installed, and where? Cedar Fair seems to love working with B&M, so I could see them maybe if somewhere like Valley Fair or World of Fun eventually got some sort of B&M, I could see that maybe being a mini dive, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Drew Myers, do you like dark rides? And if so, what's your favorite dark ride? I love dark rides, especially the Disney Universal ones, and my favorite is Rise of the Resistance. I have a review going into detail what makes that ride so special. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't ridden it, but the immersion in that ride's insane. The Gwazi, Hagrid's is the best night ride. That's another good night ride. Thomas Van Horn, do you think that Kingda Ka will... Oh, sorry, KK. Oh, Kentucky Kingdom. Do you think Kentucky Kingdom will still get the rumored Raptor? Yes, but I just think it'll be postponed a year or two. They already have the site sort of cleared out for it, and they clearly have interest in doing it. I just think it'll take another year or two. Theo Vlogs, which Space Mountain do you like? I like all the Space Mountains. My favorite is the one in Magic Kingdom because it has several drops at the airtime. I really like the one in California because it's smooth, feels fast with those wind machines, and the soundtrack's great. The one in Japan sort of let me down. It has the same layout as California, but just doesn't feel as fast, and it doesn't feel the same without the music. G-Money, will you tell us about the basketball behind you? Sure, that's a Paul Pierce signed basketball. He was my favorite Celtic for a while, and it was cool getting a signature from him. Vincent Gray, why is there no good RMC merchandise? It just depends where you are. Are you talking about directly from RMC or like RMC rides at the parks? Because I've gotten some good merchandise for Lightning Rod, like this mug here. Theme Park New England. What's your favorite dark ride in New England? So the dark rides in New England would be you have Houdini, Mine of Lost Souls, the Fun Houses up in Maine, Ghost Hunt at Lake Compounce. Probably Ghost Hunt at Lake Compounce after the recent refurbishment. It's now very easy to know what you're hitting. And they really did a good job fixing that ride, because if you told me 5 years ago that'd be my favorite dark ride in New England, I wouldn't have believed you. Coaster Dash, hey, question. How long did it take for you to hey, question. How long did it take for your YouTube zip to come in when you got approved for monetization? Sorry, I don't know what you mean by zip, but in terms of once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I think there was like a 3 or 4 day delay before the monetization went through. But yeah, feel free to shoot me a message if you have any more questions on that. Connor Millstone, I feel like B&M is copying Vekoma with their inverted coasters. I like, if you look at that one that's being put in Groenland Monster, I really like how they have more zero G rolls and flat spins on that ride, because those are my favorite elements on inverts usually. The Gwazi. What do you think Blue Hawk at Six Flags Over Georgia's? Why do you think Blue Hawk at Six Flags Over Georgia's closed, even though it was open earlier, even after the refurbishment MK12 trains 3 years ago? So I didn't go to Six Flags Over Georgia this year. I didn't realize that ride was closed this year, or if it just closed recently. If it's closed, I could see it just being because it didn't seem to be one of the more popular rides if they have to close things due to staffing. David Lenz, have you ridden any rides with a drop track? If so, which had the best drop track? So I don't want to spoil which ride is my favorite drop track because it was one that I had absolutely no clue had a drop track. Because there are some that are well publicized to have drop tracks. Like, I will say this: you can do some research if you want to figure out which one it is. It's the one with the longest drop track in the world, and it's not an Intamin ride. I'll just leave it at that. Coaster Roaster. Sorry, I'm late. Was watching the NBA draft. I didn't watch college basketball too much this year because March Madness was canceled, so I'm going to catch up on that after the stream. Zachary Jarvis, do you think the U.S. will get some new Vecomas? I think we're going to get a lot more of the SNS rides because Vekoma and SNS's parent company wants SNS to focus on the U.S. market. CN7470 Productions, RMC Yankee Cannonball, yay or nay? Nay. If Canobie is going to put the money into building a new ride, I want them to build a ground up new ride. I don't want them to take quite possibly their best ride and convert that if they're going to build something new. Theo Vlogs, I wish Funland and Rehoboth Beach had a roller coaster. I want to get there at some point to ride that inverted haunted house. That ride looks awesome. White Wolf 2083, where are some of the upcoming roller coaster rides? Do you mean 2021 roller coasters or things I might potentially ride? In terms of 2021 roller coasters, I'm really looking forward to Iron Gwazi, the Wallaby Belgium Mega, and Velocicoaster. Shocking Candy Skull. What's your opinion on Predator getting the new GCI track? I'm excited for it because Predator, I actually really like that ride's layout. It has good airtime. It just beats you up. So if the GCI track makes that ride smooth, that's a major win. Kryptonite Beast, what's your favorite coaster in Orlando? Currently Hagrid's, but that's probably going to change once Velocicoaster opens. Sejonius, have you ever ridden Mr. Twister or Mr. Twister 2 at Elitch Gardens? I've never been to Elitch Gardens, but I've been on the one that Canobie's made. I really like that ride. Drew Myers, if you could airlift one theme park to your city, what would it be? Oh, I'd love to have a Disneyland near me, so I'd say that one. Leto, how do you keep track of credits? I have an Excel spreadsheet. Coaster Dash, pretty much the zip code that takes 2 to 4 weeks on Google AdSense. Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the code you get. So my shipping address is actually currently my parents' house because I'm possibly moving my apartment. So I just wanted to start getting stuff there in case I move and something gets stuck here. So it came within a week of me getting monetized, but again, if you DM me, I can get back to you. Coaster Keychain, will a coaster ever have a Norwegian loop again? I think there will definitely be more. Don't know where it will be, but it'll probably happen. G-Money, Canobie or Compounds? Canobie's the better overall park, but I love Boulder Dash, and so it's a coin flip, which I prefer. But if you put a gun in my head, I'd say Canobie just because it's a better overall park. Nathan Moore, what do you think of the rumor I came up with the RMC Giga at Canobie Lake Park? Well, for them to build it, they'll have to build a 220-foot hole, so they better start digging. Tech GD, how deep is a 6-foot hole? 2 meters or 6 feet, I guess. Sejonius, I just rode Blue Hawk 2 weeks ago. Yeah, again, I haven't been to Six Flags Over Georgia, so I don't know where that came from. Ghostly, now that we know what's wrong at Nickelodeon Universe and American Dream, what could they do to fix it? I don't know if they're going to fix it, but the big answer would have been they get more light in that building, more natural light in that building. So they should have had a bigger sky roof or more windows in the backside of the building along Shellraiser. The Gwazi, name a ride weirder than Monster Mansion at Six Flags Over Georgia. Magical Powder at Lagoon Asia in Japan. It is a ride themed to, you guessed it, Magical Powder. Theo Vlogs, do you like Impulse at Canobie's? So I rode with the new trains last month, and The new train rode really smoothly except for one spot in the final helix. It's about on par with the Eurofighters. It definitely can't compete with the Park's Woodies, but I do enjoy the ride. Coaster Dash, rank the Disney parks by resorts. So by resort, so 1 I'd put Tokyo Disney, 2 I'd put Disneyland, 3 I'd put Walt Disney World, 4 I would put Disneyland Paris. I have not been to Shanghai or Hong Kong. I want to get there eventually though. David Lins, where would you like to see an SNS looper like Steel Curtain? That type of ride would work in many different parks, just because it has such a diverse range of elements. So I'd love to see that ride go to, a spot I'd love to see would be like Lake Compounds, just because they're in the same chain as Kennywood. But I strongly suspect their next coaster will be a spinner, considering they don't have a family coaster, and they were rumored to get a spinning coaster a few years ago. Coaster Roaster, do you think the Axis prototype will ever get relocated to a park like how Hypersonic was originally the prototype before being moved to King's Dominion? I could see a park trying to acquire the Axis prototype very cheaply, but I feel like that wouldn't happen until after. Well, yeah, I could see a park trying to acquire that cheaply. Just don't know who would. Theme Park New England, what's your favorite haunt of all time? I made a video on that, but the Haunted Graveyard Lake Compounds, the sheer length of that haunt is what makes it special. In terms of best haunt, in terms of like quality, Mysterious Mansion in Gatlinburg. That ride had some dedicated scare actors that went room to room. And what was unique about that haunt is it wasn't a linear path. You actually had to find your way out of each room, and it was sort of like a mystery. Whoops, I'm falling behind the comments again. So I'm probably going to try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes or so. So I'll try to get these questions and then slow it down. Thomas Van Horn, do you think Kings Island would ever consider RMCing any of their wood coasters? I could see that happening. I don't think the Touch Beast, I don't think Mystic Timbers need it. The question would be, would they do anything to Racer? Considering they're putting the track work in, that's a historical ride, I don't think they would, but I could be wrong. Benjamin Friedman, would you delete every RMC in the world to make a super RMC that's 400 feet tall, 12,000 feet long, and 2 minutes of airtime? No, because it sounds like we're getting that ride from Intamin and at Six Flags Qiddiya whenever that happens. Alan Trotter, where does Mako rank in terms of the B&M Hypers? I'd probably have it. I like Shambhala best, then Candemonium. It would probably be 4th behind Apollo's Chariot. Coaster Roaster, do you think Iron Gwazi will be top 10 coaster in the world? It's hard for me to say for sure. I think it'll be a contender because of how great that pacing looks. But until I ride, I don't know for sure. Theo Vlogs, which theme park would you close? I would say NASCAR Speed Park in Sevierville, Tennessee, just because when I went there, I had a really bad visit. It's one thing if a park doesn't have the best rides. It's another if you go on a park can have a bad day in terms of rides being closed. But it's an entirely different thing if the staff doesn't treat you well and the staff flat out lies to you. I show up to the park asking, are the rides open? And the person at the desk who had been sitting there texting for a while said, yep, everything's open. I go outside and find out that their best go-kart track is closed, the kiddie coaster's closed, and a bunch of other things are closed. And I go in and say, hey, all this stuff's closed. And their response was, oh, the kiddie rides didn't count. Well, they're rides. And their best go-kart track was closed. And I said, oh, it was due to staffing. Well, why wouldn't you just say that when I got there? Nathan Moore, will you make a Discord server? At this time, I don't plan to do that. Coaster Dash, have you gotten to take a ride in the Axis prototype? Yeah, I've heard it's great, but I haven't been to Utah this year, so I haven't ridden it. Coaster Roaster, which coaster is the biggest difference between front and back row? There are several that come to mind, like Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventures 1. If you ride in the back, you get a great pop of airtime on the drop, nothing up front. Iron Rattler's one that I absolutely adore in the back, but up front it was sort of, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but it's just a buzzkill because you don't get that quarry drop or the first drop. Big C, I know you never made it to Whalen Park as your parents were right. It was turning into the New England Action Park. Did you make it to the small park in Salisbury? Unfortunately, I never made it to Pirates Fun Park either. Harry Porpoise, hello. Hey, well, you made the end of the stream, but unfortunately, I'm wrapping this up so soon. Drew Myers, what park do you think needs a Vekoma flying coaster like Fly Fantasyland? That ride would work in a lot of different places, especially considering how well it was themed. I'd love to see something like that come to one of the Universal parks. Theo Vlogs, I just rode Canobie. It was fun. Yeah, that's a great hyper. Very good pacing. Harry Porpoise, I'm hoping to go to Cedar Point after COVID's over. Yeah, with the COVID restrictions, Cedar Point was a bit tricky this year with those access passes and the inability to buy Fastlane. I still enjoyed my visits there because some Cedar Point's better than no Cedar Point, but it was definitely different than my past visits. Coaster Roaster, what's your favorite mountain coaster? There's two that come to mind. Either the one that's at Anakista because the laterals in that ride are insane and they try to flip you over into the ground, or the one at Attitash, the Nor'easter mountain coaster. The one at Attitash is pretty long and it's quite wild. Theo Vlogs, do you like Tidal Wave at Jenkinson's? It's okay. It's a bit of a buzzkill that the layout isn't the best at promoting spinning, but I do like that big drop towards the end. Well, when I say big drop, I mean the bigger drop relative to the other SBF Visa spinners. Vincent Guai, why is Flight Deck at Canada's Wonderland such a meanie? Because it's a Vekoma SLC with the old trains. Those rides are not pleasant. Lato, do you see any parks picking up an SNS LSM launch coaster in the future? So an SNS LSM launch. I assume you mean Gale Force. Gale Force had all those issues when it was originally being constructed, but it's running really well now. And I got some good rides on it this year. So I'd love to see another park pressed for space get one of those. Maybe Six Flags because they love working with SNS. David Lynn's ground up grandson of Beast RMC with 2 steel vertical loops. I'd love if Kings Island eventually expands upon the lore of the Beast and honors Son of Beast in some way. And they're clearly willing to acknowledge failed rides when how they renamed their second suspended arrow bad as well. Benjamin Friedman, would you sacrifice Steel Vengeance to make every SLC good? No. Even the best SLCs, like the one that's at Maurice Piers, it just can't compete with Steel Vengeance. The Gwazi, I just asked a girl out and got left on red. What should I do? I'd say give her time to respond. Nick the Pet Rock, imagine Lightning Rod's quad down was one drop. It would be kind of weird because it would have to extend so far out the mountain, or it'd have to be really shallow. So I like how they did the quad down. That's an unreal element. So I guess this is the last question from Drew Myers. What coasters do you think give better front row rides than back row rides? Beast at Kings Island's one, just so you can get that better sense of speed. The top one that comes to mind though is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Up front, Millennium Force is one of my favorite rides of all time. Absolutely insane sense of speed. I know there are quite a few people that like it best in the back, but that's not where I like it. Okay, so I guess I'll just get these last 2 questions, and I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry, guys. Theo Vlogs, do you see Vekoma make another ride like Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind? Oh, I definitely see Vekoma using that ride system again for other stuff. It might not be as well themed as Guardians of the Galaxy, but they'll probably use that spinning car more than just once. Benjamin Friedman, would Iron Gwazi be a top 5 ride? I think top 5 in the world might be a little high for it, but again, until it opens and everyone rides it, no one will know. I think it looks like it'll be a really good ride. It looks like it has excellent pacing and looks like it'll be a little different than the other RMCs, but we'll see what happens. So thanks again, everyone, for joining the stream. Hopefully I got all your questions. If there was any that you want to ask that I didn't get to, feel free to throw those down in the comments and I'll get back to you. So yeah, thanks again for enjoying the videos. And this was just going to be a stream just to say thanks to everyone. And if you have any questions, address them. So I hope you guys have a good rest of the night. And yes, definitely stay safe around the holidays. And, stay safe this time. See you guys.